Hello students, greetings of the day. So this is the continuation of our third unit, that is rural life and society. So in our last class we have know about the types of land revenue policy of the British. Okay, so what are the three types of land revenue policies? That is the permanent settlement, Rayotwari system and Mahalwari system. Yes, this permanent settlement system, it was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, and the Rayotwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro, and the Mahalwari system was introduced by Lord William Bentinck. Okay, so in our last session we have saw about the salient features of the permanent settlement method and what are the merits and demerits of this method, and we had saw about the Mahalwari Rayotwari system and also about the effects of the Mahalwari system. Okay, so in this session we are going to see about the peasants revolts. So what is meant by revolts? In our last class itself I told you what is meant by revolts. So revolts means it is an violent action against the government. Okay, so peasants means farmers. Okay, so during the British rule, the peasants, they had revolted against their government. Okay, so there are many peasant revolts are there. We are going to see about them in detail. So the British rule in India brought about many changes in agrarian system in the country. The old agrarian system collapsed, and under the new system the ownership of the land was concerned on the zamindars. So they tried to extract as much as they could from the cultivators of land. So the life of the peasants was extremely miserable. The various peasant movements and uprisings during 19th and 20th centuries were the nature of a protest against the condition under the exploitation knew no limits. That is, during the British rule in India, they brought many changes in the agrarian system. Do you know what is meant by agrarian system? Agrarian system means it is nothing but the agricultural system. Okay, so during the British rule in India, the British had made many changes in our agricultural system. So the old agricultural system was collapsed by the British and the new system was introduced, and the ownership of the land was given to the zamindars. So these zamindars, what they did means they tried to extract as much they could extract from the cultivators, that is the farmers. Okay, so during the time the life of the peasants was extremely miserable, that is they had lived an unhappy life. Okay, so during the 19th and 20th centuries there were many peasants, that is the peasants, they protest against the condition because the zamindars exploited the peasants. Okay, the first one is the Santhal rebellion. So the Santhal rebellion, it took place in the year 1855 to 1856. Okay, so the first revolt which can be regarded as peasants revolt was the Santhal rebellion in 1855 to 56. The land near the hills of Rajmahal in Bihar was cultivated by the Santhals. So the landlords and moneylenders from the cities took advantage of their ignorance and began grabbing their lands. This created bitter resentment among them, leading to their armed uprising in 1855. So the first revolt against the British by the peasants, it took place in the year 1855. The first rebellion was the Santhal rebellion. Okay, so the land near the hills of Rajmahal in Bihar, it was cultivated by the Santhals. So but the local landlords and the moneylenders of that city Santhal, they took the advantage of because the peasants were they had very much ignorance. Okay, so by using their ignorance, this local landlords and the moneylenders, they used to grab their lands, that is they used to seize the lands of the peasants. So this created a bitter resentment among the, leading to their armed uprising in 1855. That is, bitter resentment means that is bitter indignation by treating them unfairly. Okay, so consequently, under the belief of a divine order, around 10,000 Santhals gathered under two Santhal brothers, Sidhu and Kanu, to free their country of the foreign oppressors and get up a government of their own. Okay, so this rebellion was took place. It was headed by two brothers, that is Sidhu and Kanu. Okay, so about 10,000 Santals they gathered under two Santal brothers Sidhu and Kanu. For what purpose they had revolt? To free their country from the foreign oppressors and to make a self government. Okay, so the rebellion assumed a formidable shape within a month. Okay, so formidable shape means this rebellion it assumed an inspiring shape within a month. Okay, so the houses of the European planters, British officers, railway engineers, zamindars and moneylenders were attacked. The rebellion continued till February 1856 when the rebel leaders were captured and the movement was put down with the heavy hand. The government declared the Paragnas inhabited by them as Santal Paragnas so that their lands and identity could be safeguarded from external encroachments. Okay, so during the Santal rebellion, the rebels means those who were participate in the rebellion. Okay, so the rebels they attacked the houses of European planters, British officers, railway engineers, zamindars and the moneylenders. Okay, so this rebellion it continued till February 1856 and this and it was came to an end when the rebel leaders were captured by the British. Okay, then the government they declared the Paragnas that is where the Santals they inhabited that place. The government they declared that the place as the Santal Paragnas. Okay, so that place can be safeguarded by the government from external encroachments. So that is the encroachment means the intrusion on a person's property. Okay, so this is the end of the Santal rebellion. So the Santal rebellion it took place in the year 1855 and it came to an end in 1856. Okay, so this was the first revolt of the peasants. Okay, so this revolt was headed by the two Santal brothers Sidhu and Kanu. Okay, so you can see the pictures of the Santal rebellion here. Next one, Indigo revolt. So this revolt it takes place in the year 1859 and it ends in 1860. Okay, so the Bengal indigo cultivators strike was the most militant and widespread peasant uprisings. The European indigo planters compelled the tenant farmers to grow indigo at terms highly disadvantaged to the farmers. The tenant farmer was forced to sell it too cheap to the planter and accepted advances from the planter that benefited the latter. So in Bengal, the indigo cultivators strike it was the most important widespread peasant revolt. Okay. So the European indigo planters, indigo it is a type of crop. Okay, it is this crop is used for dyeing purposes. Okay, so the European indigo planters they compelled the tenant farmers to grow indigo at in their land. Okay, so this indigo cultivation is mostly benefited only for the Europeans, but it is disadvantageous for the Indian farmers. Okay, the tenant farmer was forced to sell their crop in cheap rate to the planter, and this tenant farmers they have to accept the advances from the planter. Okay, so this will be also advantages for the Europeans only. Then there were also case of kidnapping, looting, then flogging. That is flogging means that is it is a type of punishment. Okay, so there were different types of cases, that is kidnapping, looting, flogging and burning. Okay, so led by Digabar Biswas and Bishnu Charan Biswas, the riots of Nadia district gave up indigo cultivation in September 1859. Okay, so this indigo revolt was headed by the Digabar Biswas and Bishnu Charan Biswas. Okay, so this revolt it took place in the district of Nadia. Here the indigo cultivators they gave up the cultivation of indigo, that is they didn't cultivated indigo. Then factories were burned down and the revolt spread. To take control of the situation, the government set up an Indigo Commission in 1860, whose recommendation formed a part of Act 6 of 1862. To stop this revolt, the government they formed a Indigo Commission in the year 1860. Okay, so the planters of Bengal, however, moved to settle in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. So here the indigo planters they moved from Bengal to Bihar and Uttar Pradesh to settle there. Okay. So the newspaper Hindu Patriot brought to light the misery of the cultivators several times. So the newspapers like the Hindu Patriot, it in that newspaper they publish about the unhappy life and the struggles which was faced by the cultivators. Okay. Then the Dinabandhu Mitra wrote a drama Nil Darpan in Bengali with a view to draw the attention of the people and the government towards the misery of indigo cultivators. Okay. So the Dinabandhu Mitra. Okay. So he wrote a drama named Nil Darpan. Okay. So in his drama he wrote this drama in Bengali. For what purpose he wrote his drama? To make the attention of the people and the government towards the misery, that is towards the struggles which was faced by the indigo cultivators. Okay, so this is the indigo revolt. Okay, next one, you can see the picture of the indigo revolt here. The next revolt is the Pabna revolt. It took place in the year 1873 and it came to an end in 1876. For 3 years this revolt took place. Okay. So the Pabna uprising was a resistance movement by the peasants against the oppression of the zamindars. It originated in Yusufshahi Paragna of Pabna in Bengal. This Pabna revolt, it is an peasant uprising, that is the farmers they revolted against the oppression of the zamindars. Okay, so this revolt it was originated in the Yusufshahi Paragna of Pabna in Bengal. Okay, so this revolt it was led by Kesab Chandra Rao. So the zamindars routinely collected money from the peasants by the illegal means of forced levy. So awabs enhanced rent and so on. The peasants were often evicted from the land on the pretext of non-payment of rent. Okay. So for what purpose this revolt it took place? Because the zamindars they used to collect money from the peasants in an illegal manner. They forced to the zamindars they forced the peasants to pay heavy taxes. Levy means tax. Okay. So in most of the time the peasants were evicted, that is they sent out of their land on the pretext of non-payment of rent. If they didn't pay the rent means they sent out of their land. Okay. So large crowds of peasants gathered and marched through villages frightening the zamindars and appealing to the other peasants to join with them. Funds were raised from the riots to meet the cost. Okay. So for this revolt, a large crowd of peasants they gathered together and they were marched means they walked. Okay. So they marched through the villages and frightening the zamindars. Okay. Then they also appealed. That is they also they appealed to the other peasants. They asked the other peasants also to join with them in the revolt. Okay. The funds for the revolt was raised by the riots to meet their cost. Okay. The struggle gradually spread throughout Pabna and then to other districts of East Bengal. Everywhere agrarian leagues were organized. So this revolt it was gradually led to the other districts of East Bengal also. Okay. So everywhere the agrarian leagues were organized. Agrarian means the agricultural leagues were organizations were formed. Okay. So the main form of the struggle was that legal resistance. So there were very little violence. Okay. So it occurred only when the zamindars tried to compel the riots to submit to their terms by force. Okay. So why this revolt took place? The zamindars they compelled the farmers to submit their tax in an forcible manner. Okay. So there were only few cases of looting of the houses of the zamindars. A few attacks on police stations took place and the peasants also resisted attempts to execute court decrees. Okay, so decrees means that is the court orders. Okay, so there were only few cases of looting. Okay, looting the houses of zamindars. Then a few attacks on police station took place during the revolt. So hardly zamindars or zamindars agents were killed or seriously injured in this revolt. So in the course of the movement, the riots developed a strong awareness on the law and their legal rights and the ability to combine form and associations for peaceful agitation. Okay, so in the during the course of this movement, that is the Pabna movement, the riots, they developed a strong awareness about the law and they formed a legal associations for them. Okay, so this is the Pabna revolt. This revolt took place in the year 1873 and it came to an end in 1876. Okay, so in this map you can see the peasants revolts places. Okay, so where it took place, you see Pabna, it is in Bengal, then Indigo revolt, Santhal revolt, Champaran revolt, Deccan revolt. Okay, so Badoli, like that you can see the places of the revolt which took place in this map. Okay, next one, Deccan riots. So this Deccan riots, it took place in the year 1875. So in 1875, the peasants, they revolted in the district of Pune. That event has been called as Deccan riot. So the peasants revolted primarily against the oppression of local moneylenders who were grabbing their lands systematically. The uprising started from a village in Pune district when the village people forced out a local moneylender from the village and captured his property. Gradually, the uprising spread over 33 villages and the peasants looted the property of Marwari Shaukas. So the uprising turned into violent when the Shaukas took help of the police. It was suppressed only when the army was called to control it. However, it resulted in passing of the Deccan Agriculturalist Relief Act, which removed some part of the most serious grievances of peasants. Okay, so this Deccan riot, it took place in the year 1875. Okay, so this revolt, it take place in the district of Pune and it was called as Deccan riots. Okay, so this revolt started when the peasants revolt primarily against the oppression of the local moneylenders. So firstly, the peasants, they had revolt against the local moneylenders, those who grabbed their lands systematically. Okay, so after that, this uprising, it was started from a village in Pune district. When the village people, they forced out a local, that village people, what they did means, they forced their local moneylender from that village out and they captured his property. Okay, so eventually this uprising spread over 33 villages and the peasants, they looted they took over the property of the Marwari Shaukas. Okay, that is the local moneylenders. So when this riot, it turned into violent, means the Shaukas, they took the help of the police. Okay, so to control this revolt, the Shaukas, what they did means, they took the help of the police. Okay, so this riot, it was suppressed only when the army was called to control the revolt. Okay, so this revolt, it resulted in the Deccan Agriculturalist Relief Act. Okay, so this which removed some of the serious grievances. See, grievances means complaints. Okay, so this act, it removed some of the complaints of the peasants. Okay, next one, Punjab peasant movement. So the peasants of the Punjab, they agitated to prevent the rapid alienation of their lands to the urban moneylenders for failure to pay debt. Okay, so the peasants of the Punjab, they agitated means they revolted. Okay, they revolted against the moneylenders for the alienation of their land. Alienation means transfer of ownership of the property. What the moneylenders they did means they transfer the ownership of the land of the peasants to them. Okay. The British India did not want any revolt in the province, which provided a large number of soldiers to the British army in India. Okay. So during the British they conquered India. In that time, the British they did not want any revolt in their British provinces. Okay. So for that purposes they provided many number of soldiers in the British army. So in order to protect the peasants of the Punjab Land Alienation Act was passed in the year 1900 as an experimental measure to extend to the rest of India. It was worked successfully in Punjab. Okay. So the government they passed an act in the year 1900. Okay. So it is an experimental measure, and this act it worked successfully in Punjab. So the act divided the population of the Punjab into 3 categories. Okay. So according to this act, the population of Punjab was divided into 3 categories. That is the agricultural classes, the statutory agriculturalist class, and the rest of population including the moneylenders. Okay. So restrictions were imposed on the sale and mortgage of land from first category to the other category. Who's the first category? The agricultural class. Okay. So restrictions means they do not transfer the ownership, they do not sell or mortgage the land from first category to other category, so that the land of the farmers it could not be mortgaged by the moneylenders. Okay. So this is the Punjab peasant movement. So the next one is Champaran Satyagraha. So about this all peasant revolts you are going to study detailedly in your 10th standard. Okay. So this is just a small introduction about it. Okay. Champaran Satyagraha, you can see the picture. So this Champaran Satyagraha it was conducted by our Gandhiji. Okay. So this Satyagraha it took place in the year 1917 and it came to an end in 1918. Okay. So the European planters of Champaran in Bihar. So Champaran it is a place in Bihar. Okay. So the European planters of Champaran in Bihar resorted to illegal and inhuman methods of indigo cultivation at a cost which was wholly unjust. Okay. So the European planters of Champaran they resorted to illegal and inhuman, they followed an illegal and inhuman method of to cultivate indigo. Okay. So under the Tinkatya system in Champaran, the peasants were bound by law to grow indigo on 3/20 part of their land and send the same to the British planters at prices fixed them. Okay. So according to the another time there is a system will be there, that is the Tinkatya system. So according to the system, the peasants had to cultivate indigo on 3/20 part of their land. Okay. Then after that they had to send that produce to the British planters at the price which was fixed by the British. Okay. So they were liable to unlawful extortion and oppression by the planters. So Mahatma Gandhiji took up their cause. The government appointed an enquiry commission of which Mahatma Gandhi was a member. Okay. So the grievances of the peasants were enquired and ultimately the Champaran Agrarian Act was passed in May 18. So for this cause our Mahatma Gandhi he took place in this Satyagraha movement. Okay. So the British government they appointed an enquiry commission to inquire about the Champaran Satyagraha. Okay. So the grievances, that is the complaints of the peasants were inquired by the commission, and after that the Champaran Agrarian Act was passed in the year May 1918. Okay. So next one, the Keda or Kaira Satyagraha. So it took place in the year 1918. So in the Keda district of Gujarat, due to constant famines, agriculture was failed in 19 18. But the officers insisted on collection of full land revenue. The local peasants therefore started a no tax movement in Kedah district in 1918. Gandhi accepted the leadership of this movement. Okay. So in the Kedah district, so Kedah it is a district in Gujarat. Okay. So due to constant famine, the agriculture was failed in 1918. But what the British officers they did means they forced the peasants to pay the land revenue. Okay, so the local peasants they started a no tax movement in Kedah district. That is no tax movement means they used to they decided to not to pay tax to the British government. Okay, so Gandhi accepted the leadership of this movement. So Gandhiji he organized the peasants to offer satyagraha and opposed official instance of full collection of oppressive land revenue despite the conditions of famine. Okay, so Gandhiji he organized the movement in a satyagraha manner. Okay, so and he was against the full collection of land revenue during the condition of famine. Then he inspired the peasants to be fearless and face all the consequences. So the response to his call was unprecedented and the government had to bow to a statement with the peasants. The government they had negotiated with the peasants. So Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel emerged as an important leader of the Indian freedom struggle during this period. Okay, so during this period only Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel he emerged as an important leader in our Indian freedom struggle. Okay. So next one the Mapla rebellion. So the Muslim Mapla or Mapla. Okay. So the Muslim Mapla peasants of Malabar was suppressed and exploited by Hindu zamindars. They were known as Janmis. Okay. And British government. This was the main cause of this revolt. Okay. So what's the main reason for the Mapla rebellion? The peasants of Malabar, the Muslim peasants of Malabar, they were suppressed and exploited by the Hindu zamindars and the British government. Okay, so this was the main reason of the Mapla rebellion. So the Mapla peasants got momentum from the Malabar district conference held in April 1920. This conference supported the tenants' cause and demanded legislations for regulating landlord-tenant relations. Okay. So after that in April 1920, this Mapla peasants they got momentum from the Malabar district conference. Okay. So this conference it supported the tenants' cause and they demanded the legislations for regulating landlord tenants. So in August 1921, the Mapla tenants rebelled against the oppressive zamindars. So they had revolted against the zamindars, Hindu zamindars. Okay. So in the initial stage of the rebellion, the Mapla peasants attacked the police stations, public offices, communications and houses of oppressive landlords and moneylenders. By December 1921, the government ruthlessly suppressed the Mapla rebellion. So according to an official estimate, as a result of government intervention, 2,337 Mapla rebels were killed and 1,650 wounded and more than 45,000 captured as prisoners. Okay. So in the initial stage of the Mapla rebellion, the peasants they had attacked the police stations, public offices, communications and the houses of the landlords and moneylenders. Okay. But in December 1921, the government they ruthlessly means they hardly suppressed this Mapla rebellion. Okay. So according to the estimation during this Mapla rebellion, 2,337 Mapla rebels were killed and 1,650 were wounded and more than 45,000 were captured as prisoners during the rebellion. Okay, so you can see the picture of the Mapla rebellion. Okay, so next one the Bardoli Satyagraha. So it took place in the year 1929 and it came to an end in 1930. So in 1928, the peasants of Bardoli, that is Bardoli, it is located in Gujarat. Okay. So in 1928, the peasants of Bardoli started their agitation under the leadership of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in protest against the government's proposals to increase land revenue by 30%. The peasant refused to pay tax at the enhanced rate and started no tax campaign from 12th February 1928. Many women also participated in this campaign. So this Badoli Satyagraha, it was headed by Sardar Vallabhai Patel and it took place in the year 1928. Okay. So for what purpose this Satyagraha took place? In protest against the government's proposal. That is, the British government, they have increased the land revenue by 30%. Okay. So the peasants, they refused to pay the tax and they started no tax campaign, that is not to pay tax to the British government. Okay. So in this Satyagraha, many women also they participated. Okay. So in 1930, the peasants of Badoli rose to man, refused to pay taxes, faced the action, sales and eventually loss of almost all their lands, but refused to submit to the government. Okay. So in this act in 1930, the peasants of Badoli, that is, he rose to a man, and the man, he refused to pay the taxes to the government and he faced all the action which was took place by the government. Okay. So he eventually he almost all his land and to the government, but he refused to submit the tax to the government. Okay. So however, all their lands were returned to them when the Congress came to power in 1937. Okay. So before that, the land it was took over by the government. Then after the Congress it came to power, the land was returned to the peasants. Okay. So this was the peasants revolt which took place in the British period. Okay. So in this lesson we had saw about the rural life and society, that is, we had know about the land revenue policy of the British, then merits and demerits of the land revenue policies, and the agrarian crisis and the revolts. Okay. So the British government in India, they did not adapt the pro-Indian agriculture and land revenue system. Okay. So they followed three land revenue systems, that is the permanent settlement, Rayodwari system and Mahalwari system. Okay. So the permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. Okay, in the year 1793. Then the Rayodwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro and Captain Reid in 1820. Then the Mahalwari system, it was a brainchild of Holt Magnesi. Okay. So the land near the hills of Rajmahal in Bihar, it was cultivated by Santals. Okay. Then the Dinabandhu Mitra wrote a drama Nil Darba in Bengali. So there were different peasant revolts that took place during the British period. Okay, that is the Deccan riots, Punjab peasant movement, Champaran Satyagraha, Keda Satyagraha, then Moplar rebellion, Badoli system, Indigo revolt, Pobna revolt. Okay, so there were many peasants revolts that took place during the time of the British government. Okay, students, have you understood this lesson? Yes. So what's your today's assignment is, you have to make a book reading. You have to read this lesson once and you have to answer all the 1 mark question which was given. Okay, that is, you have to mark the choose the correct answer, match the following true or false, then fill in the blanks and consider the following statement and tick appropriate answers. Okay, so you have to read the lesson once and you have to answer all these 1 mark questions. Okay, thank you all.